Good morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Thursday, August 8th. Looking at the satellite imagery, you can see quite a bit of mix of everything. We got smoke, we've got mid-level instability, cumulus clouds building here by the different textures, and a little bit of everything coming up in the forecast for the next few days. And impact map shows a few things. We still have some fairly critical winds coming in off the Sierra front into western Nevada, 20 to 30 miles per hour, maybe a few higher gusts. We also have thunderstorms, mostly on the wetter side across southern and eastern areas. Those will grow in coverage Friday and even into Saturday. And it's this northern periphery up here where humidities are a little drier, fuels are drier, that we are concerned for new starts and new fires. And in between with the thunderstorms, because they're being triggered by a low pressure system developing off to the northwest, we'll have fairly gusty afternoon winds across much of northern and western Nevada on Friday, and that expands in coverage Saturday and pushing into parts of Idaho and even towards Wyoming. We'll have to keep a careful eye on that. Precipitation lightning the past 24 hours, mostly in our far eastern areas. And on the wetter side or with higher humidity here, you can see by the precipitation, the further east you go or south, the more concentrated some of that precipitation was. We had a moderate initial attack, 19 fires for 311 acres, new fires in the red, recent fires in the yellow. Open circles indicate team fires, and being in PL4, lots of activity all across the geographic area. Precipitation over the past 7 days, overall nothing that heavy, except once you get into southern parts, or at least southwest Utah towards the Arizona Strip. Some of those dark blues and greens are anywhere from a quarter inch to a half inch of rainfall, and there's some spotty amounts up in Idaho, but by and large, a lot of the precip was more about a couple hundredths to perhaps a tenth of an inch. You can see the ERCs have been gradually drying out. We see a lot more oranges and reds, that's 80s and 90th percentiles. A few areas up in Wyoming starting to approach the 95th to 97th percentile. So kind of a mix, but still a little bit wetter down in the far south and towards the Arizona Strip. But everyone, you can see the upward arrows is starting to dry out. And looking at finer fuels, where grasses will be most readily able to burn, the areas in the gold, and especially in this pink area, are mid-single digit 10-hour fuels. You go further north and in parts of Idaho, especially south and east, you can see some of those finer fuels still fairly high fuel moisture. For the upper level map, today we have big high pressure overhead, the trough of low pressure dropping down out of British Columbia. You can see the little edge of it here. We do have quite a bit of moisture coming up. To see these green blobs through here and a streak up here in Idaho. We'll get with that, but definitely our drier conditions or higher fire potential be areas further north and west. It's a bit of moistening down south. You can see the humidities quite dry across Nevada and into parts of Idaho and northwestern Utah, but much higher, 20-25% as you head further south. Winds overall, see some of these breezes coming off the Sierra, probably 20 to 30 miles an hour. Some winds up here coming in off of Wyoming where they had lightning a day or two ago and they're starting to dry out. These darker browns and purples are outflow boundaries from nearby thunderstorms. They don't last long, maybe 15 minutes, but they could briefly blow 30 to 50 miles an hour. So that's something else to keep in mind. Our smoke forecast for today, on the left this morning, see the smoke trajectories and the higher concentrations in the darker red colors, and by this afternoon you'll see some of that mixing out, but you can see some of these purple areas. This is where the model expects some of our existing fires to continue producing significant new smoke. Let's go to Friday. You see the upper level map. Still the moisture, the darker area here, higher atmospheric air mass, humidity, but drier air pushing in from the west. But we still have some thunderstorms here exiting parts of Idaho into Montana. We do have high risk for lightning up in some of those areas of the central Idaho mountains and parts of western Wyoming. So we'll keep an eye on that. Any lightning further south will be on the wetter side. You see some of our 7-day values actually going towards the green. The humidity there much higher, 30-35% for minimum humidities, but drier further north and west. And the breezes, you see some of these oranges again off the Sierra and into parts of northern Nevada. Precipitation, this is where the thunderstorm activity will be. Quite a bit of it further south and more on the dry side. We'll have to watch some of this in parts of Ely's area in the central Idaho mountains, and those will be some of these fast-moving thunderstorms. Not pure dry, there'll be some wetness with them, but they'll be fast-moving, so again, something to keep an eye on. Humidity's up there in the 20s. Now on Saturday, a little bit of everything. We'll start on the right. We have lightning high risk for some of our central Idaho mountains, and undercutting it, windy conditions. To the south, of course, parts of Idaho, northern Nevada, and you can see the punch of drier air pushing through. Darker shade here indicates lower humidity. These upper level winds 30 to 40 miles an hour. This area in black across eastern Idaho, this is moisture exiting, but just enough to maybe trigger some thunderstorms, and some of these storms could be more around noontime or so before the drier air punches in during the afternoon. That's always a pretty bad combination. You can see the winds on the right hand side, and a lot of these oranges are 30-35 miles an hour getting up into Idaho, affecting a lot of our fires, even up into northern Utah. And the humidity levels here on the right. Here's where the model indicates some of that precipitation where it'll be falling. And some of those thunderstorms, again, mostly earlier in the day. You have drier air punching in during the afternoon. 3-day precipitation totals, again, not that much over the broad scale of things. You see the monsoon train starting to get going and into southern Utah before it starts curving over into Colorado, which gets really dosed with water. And then Sunday, again, a little trough of low pressure carving out here. That increases the winds, also with drier air. It will bring somewhat cooler temperatures, but drier air, windy, so we have high risk for wind here in northern Nevada. We have to watch if this affects parts of southern Idaho. It is expected to move into Idaho. On Monday, we have the high risk for wind there. You can see some of these upper level winds, 30 to 40 miles an hour. Higher air mass humidity still to the south and east, but it's this drier punch of air, this tannish reddish shade from Nevada into Idaho, which is a concern. And that air mass really dries out for Tuesday, along with those continued windy conditions. We have an issued high risk further down the road. We'll see how the models play out. We actually carve out a trough of low pressure here, maybe some thunderstorms along the Nevada-Idaho border. We'll see how that plays out. Higher certainty will be these stronger winds and drier air pushing further to the east, and another low pressure area upstream into British Columbia. 7-day precipitation totals, you can see getting some wetness across Utah, much needed, but again, a fine line from areas north and west, staying mostly on the dry side. And the 8 to 14 day outlook shows above normal temperatures most areas, a little cooler back towards normal as you head to the western portion of the Great Basin, but it'll also be drier there as well. The main monsoon train hitting eastern Utah, but then pushing back into parts of Colorado. That concludes our briefing. Have a great day.